always leave out. A fire that was never meant to burn alone doesn't know how to stop. There is a cold that has nothing to do with temperature. You felt it, not in winter, not in wind, in the space where something used to be.
Before we begin, I need you to stay until the last story. I've been doing this for a while now, and the final one on today's list, I still have to pause before I read it. You'll understand why. Let's go.
Deep in the giant chasm, where the earth itself seems to have flinched away from something, there is a cave. Old, cold, quiet, in a way that doesn't feel like peace. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't call. It simply waits. Still in a way that is harder to look at than any display of rage.
According to the Pokédex, the freezing energy Kyurem couldn't contain leaked out, crystallized into blades across its body. Those gaps aren't damage, places where something used to be.
The cold bleeding out through those gaps is not Kyurem's power, it is Kyurem's grief. Escaping through every seam of a creature that was never designed to be alone. It breathes, and the frost spreads another centimeter across the floor. Nothing grows within its reach, because life needs warmth, and Kyurem has none left to give. Southeast. Where are we? Holds it. Missing parts. Not damage, not scars. Parts it was born remembering, and has spent every moment since trying not to think about. 2 pieces caught fire, and went out into the world. 1 piece was left in a cave, with gaps in its body, waiting.
If that already reached somewhere in you, and I think it did, subscribe to Teardrop Tales right now. This channel exists for exactly this. Every week, a story you didn't know you needed. Don't let the next one start without you.
What burns so brightly out there that even ancient ice can feel it from across a region? What does it cost to be fire to someone else's hollow dark?
They will tell you Reshiram burns for truth. They're not wrong. But here's the part they always leave out. A fire that was never meant to burn alone doesn't know how to stop.
Its tail is a turbine, biological, impossible, ancient, white feathers that blur into fire at their edges. When it spins at full power, it alters weather across an entire continent.
Watch it long enough, the tail never fully stops. Even at rest, that low hum. A fire that will not go out, because going out would mean giving in to something it won't name.
There is something in that word, accompanied, that is the loneliest word in the entire Pokédex. Because heroes die, and Reshiram does not. The Pokédex says it was accompanied, not summoned, not controlled, accompanied, as if Reshiram chose, as if the fire was a gift freely given to someone who earned it.
Imagine what it is to be the thing that burns the longest, to have stood beside one human who sought truth, then another, while you remain, white, still burning. The cause Reshiram was first made for wasn't a hero, wasn't truth in the abstract. It was another part of itself, and that part went cold a long time ago.
But there are nights, high on a ridge, tail barely turning, when it looks away from every hero, every cause. Northwest, toward a cave where the temperature hovers near absolute zero.
All inside it. And for just a moment, the fire in its tailness, not extinguishes, just dims. The way a candle dims when something large and familiar and long gone enters the room. Reshiram carries its fire forward, always forward, but it remembers with perfect clarity what it felt like before it had anything to carry.
What they were, before the split, before the brothers' quarrel, before the dragon became 3, the Pokédex tells us. And that is where this gets difficult to read aloud. Of all the stories in today's video, and I mean this is the one I have to stop before reading. Not because it's complicated, but because it isn't.
At the beginning, before any legend, any hero, there was one dragon, not 2, not 3. Then a king died. He left 2 sons. One believed in truth, the other in ideals. They quarreled.
The dragon felt the fracture, felt 2 irreconcilable griefs pulling at its body the way tides pull at stone. And the world did what the world does.
Reshiram took the truth and flew south, a white fire that has been burning ever since. Zekrom took the ideals and disappeared into a storm.
Where the dragon had been, silence.
And what was left, what couldn't be divided into truth or ideals, what was simply the being itself, fell into a crater and went cold.
That crater is the giant chasm. The thing that fell into it is Kurum, not a creature that became lonely, wholeness, after it was destroyed. The gaps in Kurum's body, those are the shapes of where Reshiram and Zekrom used to be. Positive spaces made negative, the exact dimensions of what was removed. According to the Pokedex, Kurum's body froze when its cold energy leaked out. It was never cold. Originally.
If this will every single one. Kurum is not demonstrating its power. It is demonstrating its womb, crystallized breath, every frostbite floor. It is cold because it cannot be anything else.
The Pokedex says Kurum will become whole again when it bonds with the legendary Pokemon. And it will, in a manner of speaking. But that word, bonds, is doing a great deal of work there. The Pokedex says Kurum will become whole when it bonds with a legendary Pokemon. That word, bonds, sounds gentle. It is not gentle.
There is an item in the Pokemon world called the DNA splicers. It looks like nothing. It does something that should not be possible.
The DNA splicers allow Kurum to fuse with Reshiram, or with Zekrom. The word the game uses is fuse. Remember that word.
Reshiram moves toward the cold. The turbine slows. The fire, for the first time in the entire story, dims to almost nothing.
In the giant chasm, Kurum turns. The frost stops. One beat of absolute silence, and then the gap begins to close.
And in the space where two separate things existed, one.
White Kurum. The gaps are sealed. The cold no longer leaks. From the outside, this looks like healing. The outside is lying to you.
Reshiram is gone. Not destroyed, not dead, contained. Somewhere inside White Kurum's sealed body, Reshiram exists, but it does not move. It does not burn. The Pokedex called this bonding. It is not bonding. One being was absorbed into another. The gaps are closed because one of them had to stop existing.
And somewhere, in the storm where Zekrom waits, a signal that once had an answer goes quiet. Zekrom does not look up, but it knows.
Tell me, which story has hit you hardest so far? Kurum waiting in the cold, Reshiram burning alone, or this? Two beings that were once one and the price one of them paid to make the other whole again. Drop your answer chapter, may change your answer.
White Kurum does not turn northwest anymore. It has no reason to. What it was reaching for is sealed inside it now. The last chapter is about what that costs, to carry something instead of reach for it. White Kurum does not move the way Kurum moved. There is no frost leaking from the gaps. There is no slow turn toward the northwest. The waiting is over. The gaps are sealed. From a distance, that reads as wholeness. Up close, the seams glow amber. Something is pressing against them from the inside. There is a difference between carrying something and reaching for it. Kurum reached. Every slow turn toward the northwest was an act of reaching. White Kurum carries and does not turn.
Whole and healed are not the same word. They never were.
Somewhere in the Pokemon world, the ridge where Reshiram used to perch is still there. The wind still moves across it. Nothing lands on it now. The original dragon wanted to be whole. The brothers split it, trying to prove which half mattered more. White Kurum sealed it by consuming the answer to that question. Kurum waited in that cold for a reason. Not because it was patient, because it understood, in whatever way a hollow dragon understands anything, that reaching is not the same as arriving. The Pokedex says it seized the powers of the legendary Pokemon and stored them in its body. Stored them. Not welcomed, not shared, stored, the way you store something you can't let go of. White Kurum does not turn northwest. But if you hold very still and watch the angle of its head, there is something there, 1 degree, maybe less. And if you listen to the rhythm of those amber pulses, they are not random. They are measured, slow, like a turbine that has not forgotten what it was built to do. They were the same being once. Now they are two. And an entity of that pulse in somebody, you can still hear what they sounded like when they were whole.
These are the stories Pokemon never wanted you to forget. The ones that were always there, in the Pokedex, in the lore, in the silence between the lines, waiting to sign away. It has been waiting for a long time.